Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 4Corners podcast. This is Shad here with Matt and Brad, and I'm doing the intro tonight because we had technical difficulties. So, therefore, I'm recording this to come to you live in front of a studio audience, I guess. I don't know. But since we've had
Are
technical
we?
Go ahead.
Is this? Or is video being recorded too?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. We've got
Yeah. So
video
if
and audio
So I know not
recording.
to just
yeah,
pick
so
my nose or anything like that. Like,
if you're happening to watch the playlist on the YouTube channel, this is not a live stream. This
Yeah.
is a
Unfortunately, these things just kind of happen sometimes. And
for some
so
reason when you give someone your stream key and all the other things they need to stream, sometimes it just doesn't work.
YouTube is
mm,
stupid. Anyway,
hmm,
tonight we were, I know usually we're on the wrestling train, but tonight we just want to do something a little bit different. And so, since I am the kind of freak that has not only all the books, not only the calendar, not only the companion in hardback and paperback, well, our good friend Matt here has been starting to read through the book series of The Wheel of Time. And we thought,
yeah.
hey, he's gone through the first two books. Why don't we do something a little different, a little fun, and give him an opportunity to tell us what he thought of those first two books? If you're not familiar with it, The Wheel of Time is a fantasy series, a 14-book fantasy series that, excuse me, some folks call America's first great fantasy epic because it is a high fantasy epic that is completed, Martin. Um, and
Look, Good Man's never finishing that. Let's
no,
just
it's
be
not
Uh,
honest.
happening.
yeah. So if I can interject really
Yeah.
quickly, because I want to go through like the whole reason I even started this, but uh, specifically about George R. R. Martin. Like, my wife and I, we really, I've mentioned this probably for like 4 years on the podcast. So, but my wife and I need to renovate our house. And for different reasons that would take, I could literally take the entire show of like entire episode of the show to explain why. It
Mm-hmm.
involved a lawsuit. It was it was a complicated long road, but we're finally going to try and do it this year. And so we've kind of like casually been packing stuff up. Um, not like major things where it's like we've packed away the couch or the TV. It's just like, stuff that we're not using every day. So I've been packing up some of my books that I have here, of which I have a lot. And in packing them, some of the things I've packed up is like my George R. R. Martin Game of Thrones Song of what is it? A Song of Ice
Song
and
of Fire
Fire.
and
Whatever. It's some one of
yeah.
those. I've read the first book. I read the first book many years ago after seeing the first season of the Game of Thrones HBO TV show. I liked it. The first season of the Game of Thrones actually mirrored the first book pretty well, and I enjoyed it. But then, for whatever reason, like I didn't continue on with the books. I would just watch the show. I understand that the books in the show are different or start to get different. But the thing is, I I think I have all the other books. Um, but as I was packing them up, I'm like, I was thinking in my mind, I'm like, I'm not gonna, I don't know when I'll ever read the rest of this series because I am at the point now, I kind of refuse to read a book series like that. That's like the books are like this, like 1,000 pages
Mm-hmm.
when it's not done, and
Mm-hmm.
who knows if it'll ever get done.
I just
Like I
took
hope,
the
I hope
plunge on it.
George. I hope George R. R. Martin has Brandon Sanderson on speed dial and just has like something in his will. It's like just give him all my notes.
I could
Like,
see that.
See,
And Sanderson
see,
gets the
the,
call and goes, hello? Nope.
so
Because
I'm
that
going
is
to tell you
not
why that's.
Sanderson's style.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you why it's not going to happen ever with Martin. Is for starters, he's an exploratory writer, so he doesn't like take notes really. He kind of just goes with the flow and goes where it goes, which is a valid form of writing. But if someone else were to do it, they're not going to have very much to go on unless he purposely does that, and I don't necessarily think he will. And I also think he's I think he's just gotten a little too enamored with like the Hollywood part of it, and writing a book isn't like glamorous or anything.
I
I have
have
I've
I have a theory. I'm sorry, Matt. Let me spit this
no,
out real quick.
yeah, I want to hear your theory first.
He told um, the showrunners for the show what the ending was supposed to be, basically. Like, not the details, but like, end game, this is what's supposed to happen. And I think it's even confirmed who ends up on the throne is who's supposed to end up on the throne. And it has been slammed so much. It has been, I mean, just absolutely raked through the dirt over and over again that now he's like, oh, nobody likes that, and I don't know what to do. So he just keeps putting it off.
See, but I think
Bad.
that's lazy on his part though, because
Yeah,
it's easy to fix.
it is, but
What 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 about George R. R. Martin has not just screamed lazy for the last several years?
No, I mean, obviously, actually, I think he's an interesting writer to me because I don't mean this in a bad way. I actually think it's his strength. Like the simplicity of like the language he uses is very interesting because like he's a very he's very like good at setting a picture and everything, but he keeps like it's very simple. He doesn't overcomplicate anything. But I would also say I don't think Game of Thrones and Wheel of Time are even the same genre of book because I would say Game of Thrones is more low fantasy and
oh
not
yeah,
an epic.
it
And
absolutely is.
we'll get into all that. I would agree. And Game of Thrones seems to be outside of some fantastical elements, obviously like dragons and the White Walkers, the others, whatever. That it tries to be a little more like realistic. Whereas something like Wheel of Time, like there are points it tries to be kind of realistic, but it's like explicitly fantastical. But I would actually say, Shad, your theory is my theory. So if you're like it's been confirmed, I haven't heard this detail. Are you saying that people in the know, or like that?
It's
Let me spoil
there's a
Game of
lot
Thrones
of
for you because it's been several years. Bran was always supposed to be like the one who gets the game, like the throne.
That's what my
Because
understanding is.
I'll tell you, as someone who's just watched the shows outside of reading the first book, I think that that's true. I think that by and large, the ending was what he told them to do because obviously he hasn't written the final book, so they must have wrapped up the show. I would imagine going by his notes versus just winging it. I think he's letting people think, oh, it was their idea. And it's like, I don't think so. I think this is actually how he played it. He wanted it to go, but it did get trashed, and it should have because the ending's garbage.
Yeah.
well, I think
If that is true,
So
and
the
the easiest fix to that, there's an easy fix. Let's take it into the world of wrestling. It's like, what do you do as a booker? Sometimes what do you need to do? Everyone wants the blowjob babyface to win the big one and get the championship. Even if you have him like job it like 3 months down the road because there's more money in the chase.
yeah.
You got to sometimes have the payoff. So the payoff that everyone wanted was Jon Snow to get the throne because he is the unification of ice and fire. He's born to the Targaryens who control the dragons. That's the fire. And he's the king. He's the true king in the north. So that's ice. So it's like he's the merger. Everyone wanted him to be the one to like unite the kingdom. So they don't give a shit about Bran, and they didn't want Daenerys Targaryen. It's like you could easily write this where it's like just figure out a way to make sure he wins, and everyone's going to be happy. And if people are like this is derivative, who cares? He has more money than God. He could just been like.
The answer is not it's derivative. The answer is it's what I was setting up for. Did you not see the name of the series, A Song of Ice and Fire? What do you think I meant with that? But instead,
Trust me. If people are like grumbling, it's like, well, what are they going to say? Oh no, you're giving us what we want. Like, come on. Like,
I think the brand ending could have worked if they had not spent like the better part of a season and a half like fucking everything up and making it god awful and like
yeah,
ruining Danny and
the showrunners got a contingent offer on working on Star Wars stuff after they were done with Game of Thrones. And I think HBO had even said, "Hey, we'll give you guys 2 seasons to do all this." And they're like, "No, we'll do it in 4 episodes or ever how many it was." And so they rushed to finish it. And
Yeah.
it was so bad that Disney was like,
Have
mind."
It's like,
have you
'cause, like,
have you seen have you seen it? Have you seen Game of Thrones?
I saw some of it, and
Okay.
it's not my
but
thing.
there are simple things they could have fixed, like the whole, the war with the walkers. Like, you could have done something other than lol, they lose.
Yeah, and the problem is that with this show is that there's two main plots. There's that whole thing with the White Walkers, and there was who's going to get the Iron Throne, And the problem is like the White Walker storyline to me was like by tenfold. It was way more interesting. Sorry, like it's if you have literally like a zombie apocalypse coming down from the north. To me, that's going to be more captivating and going to draw more of my attention. I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of the characters. I'm going to be way more worried about that than I am like, oh, Cersei's being all, all cheeky with Daenerys. Like, I don't care about that.
Hey,
and they wrapped all that up.
Queen Mom's being a bitch. Look, see,
yeah, and then they
I
tried to
love-
wrap up the rest of the season in like 6 episodes or something, and it's like. The last episode was kind of a payoff in the sense that like a lot of characters had an ending, but they could have stretched the White Walker thing to like throughout this season and then did another whole season. Even if you did like a half season, like, oh, we're only gonna do 6 episodes and ending it. You could have done the whole thing and wrapped it all up.
Mm-hmm.
At least in the
But
books,
they rushed it, and
yeah, because they literally like they build the White Walkers up, and it's just like lol, they lose.
yeah,
And it's like, what the fuck?
The thing that kills me is you can tell how rushed it is, because I did see like the last battle scene. Like a friend of mine was waiting. He's like, I watch this with, and the first thing they do, here come the White Walkers. I'm like, send the Dothraki cavalry, all dead. And I'm just like,
yeah.
you sent the guys with weapons that don't work on them out to sally out and fight with and then you just killed them all. So we have to believe now that everybody is a moron. Another, by the way, this is
Actually, I started to appreciate the character of Cersei a lot more in the second book when they did some more stuff. I'm like, oh, she's just an idiot. And then I was like, then it was just hilarious seeing like everyone like take advantage of her and like the dumb stuff she did.
so one thing,
Like giving pirates all their money and they just leave.
yeah, one thing a friend of mine pointed out to me, and then we'll go into Wheel of Time because it's more fun. Is that one of the big draws for Game of Thrones is anybody can die, nobody's safe, and that's not true.
Mm-mm.
No, the people that are the protagonists are not the people that you expected to be the protagonists from the beginning. Ned and what was the eldest son's name?
Rob.
Ned and Rob were not the protagonists.
That's a real protagonist.
They were decoy protagonists.
yeah.
And so
There-
what do you
there
get
is-
all the way through
yeah.
it? Not Sansa. Arya should have been dead like a number of times.
Sansa probably should have been killed more
I mean,
than Arya.
But she had the
But yeah,
wolf protecting her, though.
Sansa had. There were at least reasons I could buy for her. But Arya should have been killed a few times over, and they're like, no, she managed to survive. And I'm like. And so it's. Once you figure out who's got the plot armor, then it kind of shifts your view on it. But anyway.
But he does a good job, I will say, though, especially in the books. He does a very good job of tricking you into thinking no one's safe, because the way he layers Ned dying
That's
is
true.
Interesting, and because he does really set up Ned in the first book like he is the main character.
Yeah.
And like even like when you get to the Red Wedding and stuff, like you think Joffrey's going to be like the bad guy through the whole thing, and they just off him.
That wasn't the Red Wedding. That was the White Wedding or something.
Oh,
Red
well,
Wedding.
The Red Wedding was basically the pitch that the showrunners used to get HBO to agree to make the series.
Hmm.
That was the thing that they used. Like, oh, no, 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 and we'll have the scene that's the Red Wedding and all this sort of stuff happens, and HBO's like, cool, let's do it. And then
I
you
haven't
get
heard.
past it, and things start falling apart because, like, well, we did the thing we wanted to do.
Yeah, the two guys who were like the showrunners, like creators of the show, whatever. I haven't heard of them doing anything really after this. There was like two projects they were attached to. Like in this before, I think they were attached to this one before Game of Thrones ends. Like so when Star Wars came back and they were trying to, they're denouncing a bunch of stuff. They were going to do like I think it was like a trilogy of films about the Old Republic, and those two guys are supposed to be like the writer director of that.
Yeah,
And then like the Game of Thrones thing came out, and people just trashed the ending so badly that that kind of like took a big hit. That it's like, well, we're still doing it, but they were like, Lucas, Disney, or they were like less
that's
excited about that. But then
that's
But then
that's the Kathleen Kennedy special. Is hiring the flavor of the month and then panic firing them when their next
Yeah.
thing bombs.
But the other thing that happened with them that really I think was finally nail in the coffin, like scared them, is that I think HBO or somebody was going to do, they're going to alternate history show. And the alternate history was, if you've ever, it wasn't by him, but if you have ever read the book series, the book Guns of the South by Harry Turtledove,
okay,
or even know about it,
I know of it.
it's the premise, and people have, I feel like, done this, but the premise would be like, what if the South had won the Civil War? So like, slavery continued, etc. So they're going to do that, and they're going to, it's going to be like a play on that. But obviously tensions being how they have been for the last few years, especially with race relations and everything like that, that was not well received at all. So even though it's like, look, Hollywood's doing this, there's no chance it's not going to be, for lack of a way to put it, woke. But I mean, it's not going to be like, yay, the South. It's like slavery's good. It's not going to do that. It's going to be all about, how they're trying to end that oppression. But it wasn't well received. So people were like, get rid of these guys.
You know what I hate about modern, Hollywood is a problem, but it's a lot of the modern internet. Is I hate the whole like, oh, if I just can't possibly have entertainment with people I dislike or disagree with. Like they have to be completely in lockstep with my ideology, or it's somehow evil. It's like, okay, well, that's why everything's bland now.
It's tiring at times.
All right, so
Or the other one I hate before we get into it. It's another one that I really hate, and it's getting worse. I'm hoping it gets better, but like when you're playing a game or it's like a movie and they're really evil or something, and they're a bad person, but it's like, well, they can't be racist or homophobic, and it's like, why the fuck not?
Yeah,
They just murdered 5 million people, and you think they care about
yeah,
it drives me up the wall.
yeah. It'll be like they murder like a child, like an entire like playground full of children, and then like one of their minions like uses like an off-color joke, and it's like, oh, how dare you? And it's like, oh, the guy who just murdered like a bunch of kids is offended by like an off-color joke.
That you didn't respect someone's pronouns.
Yeah, I hate when they do that because it's like, come on.
So, the Wheel of Time is, how can I best put this? The Wheel of Time is a setting where ages come and pass, and truth fades to story, story fades to myth, myth fades to legend, and legend is even lost in the turning of the wheel. It is set, the series is set in what is called the Third Age by some, an age yet to come, an age that has been. And the very, there is some setting that comes into it that comes from an earlier part in the Age of Legends, but I won't get into all of that.
It's kind of to give a kind of it's kind of an interesting setting because the genre I would call it is it's kind of a post-apocalyptic setting where the apocalypse has happened, and a lot of the aftermath is over, and they've largely rebuilt with some ramifications still in place. But it's kind of it's kind of under the nuts and bolts. It's kind of like a post apocalyptic setting.
It's
And
kind of the trope. It's the trope after the end, like basically. Except this, we haven't. It's not like necessarily like technology as we know. It still would be
so it is
medieval kind
Renaissance
of.
era minus
Yeah,
gunpowder. That's what
yeah,
Wheel of Time is basically Renaissance era minus gunpowder.
yeah.
And
Can
so
I
go for it, Matt.
can I explain why I even started going down this road? So I love reading. Uh, Growing up, I read like a bunch of stuff, books all the time. Even up to a few years ago, I would usually read like multiple books at once. I read a lot, but real life, especially having small kids, I have not had the time
Yeah.
to read, or I haven't made the time. So people always make like New Year's resolutions, and it's usually people what's the same like trite things like, oh, I'm gonna lose weight, I'm gonna go to the gym more, whatever. Like my New Year's resolution was like, I have all these books, which I do, tons of books, dozens of books. I got all these books. Like I'm not getting younger. I need to read books. If I want to read books, I need to make an effort to read books so I can enjoy the books that I've had like on my shelf forever that I haven't gotten around to reading. I want to actually read more. So I've made a concerted effort, and I've been pretty consistent with that because my idea is that I can read like a long, big book, like 500, 600 pages within like let's say a 3-month time frame at least, as long as I can read like 50 pages a week, which isn't that hard to do. Like
I
if
get
you
like a
literally,
chapter in a night. Like that's kind of what I do.
yeah, if you try and just like you have like 30 minutes, or you can make like 30 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever, and be like, I'm going to read at least like 25 pages. You can do that a couple times a week.
Yeah.
And I can read pretty quickly, so it's like, yeah, maybe I have 30 minutes, so I can just read 25 pages in 30 minutes. If I do that like twice a week, boom, I've read my 50 pages within like a 12 week time frame, so 3 months.
You know what helps
And
me a lot with
I've read
that?
like a 600 page book.
You know what's helped
Right.
me greatly with that and sticking to it is like especially with the Kindle now, the newer ones will like kind of estimate how quick you're reading. Then you start a new chapter, and it's like, oh hey, this will take you 15 minutes to read.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that
I
helps me a lot to be like, okay, like it's 15 minutes, so I know how long this chapter is going to be, and I can knock it out before bed or something.
Yeah.
I have so many books, like hardcover books. Not hardcover, hard copy. So like paperbacks, some hardcover, but I mean, I actually have physical books, and I actually like reading physical books more than just looking at a Kindle. I mean, I have like the Kindle app. I have an old Kindle that I don't even think works anymore. Like and by old, I mean like it's like over a decade old, like long time old.
Right.
But I have all these books, like hard copy books, so I want to read through them, and I've been making an effort. And part of that is like I want to read more. It's like, well, I can't just read like whatever garbage book I have. I want to actually read books that I've always wanted to read, or have like a lot of hype, they're established, etc. So I've been trying to
Done.
read. Yeah, I've been trying to read those, and I mean, it's not perfect. Where it's like maybe I'll still read like uh, a trashy novel. Well, not trashy. Let me give you like an example. Hold on.
Matt fades into the background and then reappears.
Like we got real time stuff that we're going to talk about, but it's also like I bought this. I don't know, 20 years ago, but I have Iron Man, Operation AIM. I have like an Iron Man novel, and it's like, this is gonna be cheesy.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hokey, but it's like, yeah, I'm gonna read this too. So I'll read like Wheel of Time, but in between that, I'll read like something like that. And I've been trying to read essentially 2 books at once. I'll read like a Wheel of Time book, and then like a something else
Yeah.
along with that, like a more, I'll say contemporary, but like a different genre. Because like, for example, maybe I'm reading Wheel of Time, a Wheel of Time book, then I'm also reading like, an espionage book or a horror novel, or I'm reading, something science fiction or what have you. So I can kind of have variety. I like varying it up. I'm not the sort. My wife gets frustrated because even like a show, like we'll watch. Well, before we had kids, we could do it. We could have like all Saturday to just binge watch a show on Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm the sort that it's like maybe I'll watch 2, 3, 4 episodes even, then I'll be like, I need a break. And she'll get frustrated. It's like, why can't we just finish this? And it's like, I don't like too much at once. I like varying it up. So I'm trying to read 2 books at once, but I decided this is why I wanted to do my New Year's resolution is let me read more. And I have all these books. And most of those books, I have like the first maybe 8 of them, 6, at least the first 6 of the Wheel of Times books. And so I decided, let me start reading them. So I started with Eye of the World, which is the first one. And the second was Great Hunt. And I finished both of them. I'm reading The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub right now. Hopefully I'll be done with that by the end of September. Again, with my whole 3-month new book every 3 months. So hopefully I can read book 3 of Wheel of Time by the end of the year. And then I'll probably switch to a different book and then go back to read the 4th. So maybe by the summer next year, I'll have those 3 and 4 read. But that was my start of my journey. What?
My palate cleanser. I have a palate cleanser series. It's the Remo Williams books because they're like more modernish pulp novels. So they're like 130 to 180 pages. And they're funny. Like he doesn't like being like the super spy. And he has like this mentor that like taught him all this stuff because he's like a super soldier kind of, and his mentor is like this old Chinese man that's just like racist as fuck, and they just have this like back and forth all the time. It's funny and like they're light, and you can knock one out in a weekend. But I usually palate cleanser because I struggle. Personally, I have to change it up because I can't do like the same writing style for too long, or I just fall off. So I need a different like narrative to go through my eyeballs between books, especially long ones.
I know some people have comfort shows they keep going back to. For me, I've got comfort series. Wheel of Time is one of them. I've been through the series multiple times. Dresden Files is one for me, and
Shad, that's one that I've read. I read like the first 4 or 5 books many years ago.
They just keep getting better.
I've heard that. I haven't. I stopped reading just because of life. But that's one that I do eventually want to read the entire thing. He's still doing them. I think I had read he does plan to finish them.
Yeah.
By the time I would even start reading them again, and actually got to the point, he'd probably finish them by the time I would get to where.
It's been a couple years because I think he's been on a break from it.
He had some life and health issues pop up, but he's good now. He's 8 to 10 years older than we are, and the cover for the next book is out. It'll be out in January.
Terrible taste in wrestlers.
What's up?
He has a terrible taste in wrestlers, but I mean, he grew up in Kansas City, so he was like a Central States guy. So Bulldog I just always laugh because it's his favorite wrestler, and I'm like, oh, you poor bastard. But he grew up in I think he's from like Kansas City or like around there, so it would have been Central States that he grew up.
He used to live in Independence, Missouri, but
oh yeah, that would have still been Central. Yeah,
he told me he's supposed to have a wrestling book somewhere in the timeline about what the Norse deities did after they're not deities anymore. And I asked him about it at a book signing. I was like, I used to be an indie guy. I'm real interested in that. He goes, I think I'm going to call it Body Slam. But the fandom insists he's going to call it Heel Turn. And I'm like, that is such an inside term. Most people won't get it. And he told me himself. I don't think that's right. He told me directly to my face. Sorry.
Oh, he has me. He has 12 months coming out in January, and that'll be the first one in almost 6 years. So he's getting back at it.
The last 2 it was 2 books released in the same year. So that kind of throws off the math a little bit.
Was one of those a short story collection, or was that before?
Those are kind of sprinkled throughout it, but the two that I was talking about were Peace Talks and Battleground, which are companion pieces that go together.
And those have been the
He
first two in like 6 years too, so he had been on a bit of a break for
Yeah.
that too.
he's turning 54 this year, so he's still relatively young
Yeah.
compared to some of these artists. Like he can take another 10 years to finish the Dresden File series, and
Yeah.
I
And we all
Chad,
can't be Brandon Sanderson where we sneeze and like
yeah.
produce a
Oh,
600
yeah.
page
Someone
novel.
asked him, they said, how do you think Sanderson writes the way he does? And Jim Butcher leans into the mic, he goes, clones.
Lots of clones.
Yeah.
By the way, Chad, because and friend of the show, Damien, the Dames, he gets constantly confounded with me about this. It's like I generally, like 99% of the time, don't mind getting spoiled about stuff. So I've actually read like the plot summary for the last Dresden File book, Battleground.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, like I stopped reading the books. Like there's like at this point like 10 plus books of like plot development
16.
and character development. Yeah, so I don't. Well, no, I mean like since I stopped reading the series, there's been like a dozen or books.
Yeah, he's
So
I think
I'm wildly
17 or
lost
18 's
on
coming out.
characters and everything, but I just read like the summary and I'm like, holy shit! Like it's basically like all sorts of shit goes down, and I'm like, that's really exciting. I'll read that in probably 20
Look, man,
years.
just
like that's when
just
I get around to it.
the Dresden books read real quick. And if you get to Deadbeat, things are going to change for you. Like you're going to be like, oh. So if you got to book 4, you got a taste. You did.
I
not
got through
get...
book 4. Looking at the list, I don't think I read book 5.
Okay.
Back in the day, I used to do audiobooks. I know friend of the show, Justin, like he's done audiobooks.
Mm-hmm.
I
I'm
do
not
a lot of
against audiobooks.
audiobooks.
I do them too.
I'm not against audiobooks. The problem is like the only real time for me to listen to them. My job is like I'm writing all day, so I can maybe listen to podcasts, but I can't really do like an audiobook because podcasts like you can listen, but sometimes you don't need to pay like your full attention. But an audiobook, I feel like I'm gonna lose the plot if I'm like half listening to this. So the only other time is like when I'm like going for a run outside, and sometimes I'll listen to podcasts or whatever, even when I'm doing a run outside. But I'll listen to a podcast, maybe a thought gets expressed, and I'm like, huh, and I'll pause the podcast and I'll listen, and I'll think about what was being discussed, and my mind would just go on tangents. So it's like I could listen to an audiobook, but it would probably take me a month to get through like 4 hours of like of the book. Like my mind just does it. So I would love the audiobooks, but I just don't have the time or like can focus on it well enough. It's actually easier for me. I could read more of a novel in a given week than I would probably listen to it on audio in like a month probably.
Okay. So, now to get us to the topic at hand.
Yeah.
And
I want to hear your guys' thoughts on everything because you've read the whole series. You know a lot more. I just read the first 2 books.
Well, this is
and
really
I also kind of want
about...
to talk about the TV show since maybe you guys have seen it or read.
No, we'll shit on the TV. We'll shit on the TV show because the TV show is such a botch. It's easy, but I don't want to go past because I don't want to.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Want to start with this though, and let's hit the books separately, Matt. From just starting with Eye of the World, what kind of overall thoughts did you come away with from Eye of the World?
So now what I've talked to you guys about is that he really starts hitting his stride around like book 3. So maybe like after what I've already read. And not that they're bad. Obviously I would have gone to book 2 if I'm like book 1 sucked.
Yeah.
It didn't. I found like from the very beginning when they had the prologue, which I think I have an old copy of the book, like the original like printing, and then I have like a brand new one, and I think they've added. I think there was something got added, like the prologue I think got added, or some additional chapter got added after like the initial printing.
Prologue of the Eye of the World has always been Loose there and Telemon. Like that was always there.
Okay, was there a chapter that's basically like setting up the stage for like the two rivers?
Are you talking about the walk to Emmons Field, or is it before that?
It's like before that.
That might have been a later edition. I'm gonna look this up
I
real quick.
Maybe
it
they
what
added something from the prequel novel, Shad. 'Cause I don't know either.
it could have been.
From New Spring, maybe.
Yeah.
It could have been it. Let me look this up. And I know it was because I remember having this discussion with another friend of the show, Terry, where he had mentioned it, and since I had the original one, I started reading like I bought, because you can actually buy, um, um, you can buy the books in sets of like, at least probably the first like 12 books. You can buy them in sets of like 3.
Yeah.
So I
Always has
initially,
it for like $6 for anyone listening to this.
oh well, I mean on Amazon they're not even that expensive, but I bought the paperbacks of the first 3, and then books 4 through 6. I plan to get the other ones too, like new paperback copies. But I started reading the newer paperback copy versus the old copy that I had, and so I always had that prologue piece in there. But I think Terry had said, "Oh, like they've added that," and I actually looked at the old one and I confirmed it because it's like that chapter's not in the old original printing. Uh, I'm digressing. Point is,
It
from the
says
very beginning.
that when they redid it and they split it into 2 novels in 2002, they added a prologue, Ravens, focusing on Egwene.
Yeah, yes,
Egwene.
that's what I'm talking about.
Egwene, whatever.
Yeah. Look,
I
I
wanna
had
say
the
Egwene.
author correct. I was at a signing with Robert Jordan. The first thing he did is he goes, I can't stand it when people do this, so I'm going to set the record straight, and did all of the names. Right then and
She should
there.
be launched out of a catapult, so I don't feel the need to get her name right.
He can say that, and he's the author, so it's like his word should be gospel. But I'm telling you, as I'm reading this, and we can go through it. I pronounce words in my head.
Yeah.
This is what it should be.
So this is what he did.
Oh, it's Egwene to me.
What he did, Eye of the World, right? And this was my original copy of it. That was like the cover is still falling off of it. But what was the?
Oh, I've destroyed every
What's
paperback
the
I've
date?
had of it.
This was a copy that was from 1990. Okay. What he
That's
did
the one
later,
I have.
What he
The
did
original
later
one I have. I mean,
is there is in order to make it more accessible to new readers, is they split Eye of the World into 2. That is From the Two Rivers and To the Blight, right here. And it added that prologue that you were mentioning. That prologue is right here, is in this one. I just looked. It's here. And you know what? That's fine. Whatever. I don't care. I honestly don't, because Eye of the World is the book that I've gone back to the least. And it's not because I think it's bad. It's just once I've been through something, I don't enjoy going through all of the setup again. Anyway, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Matt. Please go ahead.
So starting to read it. I read the Egwene, the Ravens chapter, and it kind of set the stage for like the two rivers. And I thought it was interesting. You know, you're seeing like the fantasy village, introducing to some of the characters. You don't really know how important they're going to be, but then it kind of jumps into that there is this undercurrent where it's like, at least back in it does kind of present it, not so much. You get it because you're just introducing to basically like a village. You don't quite get the whole backstory of like this is after the apocalypse. You learn that much later on as they start interacting more with the kind of outside world. But obviously there's turmoil that quickly gets on because the village gets attacked by, beast men that are known as Trollocs.
Trollocs, yeah.
And I feel like Jordan does a good job he kind of does do a good job of hyping up the threat of them and that they are just unnatural monstrosities.
He kind of. Unfortunately, that's my one criticism that Sanderson corrected. It's one of the ways I think Sanderson improved it is they kind of just become orcs like generic orcs, the longer Gordon goes,
Yeah.
he kind of forgets to make them threatening them. And Sanderson kind of reminded you, like, no, these are kind of like walking abominations. And you're like, oh yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard it described, and because I've read a little bit, not spoiling the series, but I've heard it. I've read a little bit about people talking about the series, and uh, I saw it explained, which makes sense to me. That I understand, like the characters, uh, especially the main character Rand, that they, as the series progresses, and it made me think. It in my mind, I've kind of like it made me think that Rand and some of these characters, it's almost like it's Dragon Ball Z. That Rand, it starts a sliding scale of like power levels, and Rand in particular, and everyone kind of, but Rand for sure, gets exponentially more powerful. So because of by nature of that, your main characters like Rand or Egwene, like they're gonna get more powerful. So Trollocs, they, and this is kind of is like, because a lot of the stuff is takes a lot of from Tolkien, but this also like slides perfectly into things like Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like your villains that you fight at level 1 are not going to be the same that you're fighting as like level 30.
Yeah.
So the Trollocs at the very beginning here, abominations that almost seem insurmountable. Yet it takes like the skilled fighters in the village to protect them, and even then, a lot of people die. But once you get to like book 8, someone like Rand could like snap his fingers and just wipe out a whole bunch of Trollocs.
yeah.
But I found it fascinating, and then from there, you see like the main group, which is Rand, who you're not entirely sure is the hero, because the first book I thought did a good job, kind of giving equal time of sorts to Rand, and then Perrin, and I just call it Matt because it's
Matrim.
Matrim.
Yeah.
But it's abbreviated to Matt, and I just like Matt. I mean, I'm a Matt, so I mean, it's like, oh, Matt. And then of course you also have Egwene, and is it
Nynaeve.
Again? In my mind,
here's the thing.
It's Nynaeve, and I'm gonna call her Nynaeve.
Here's the thing about it, okay, is that those names are based in Arthurian folklore. So they are alterations of those. And that's the thing. They're supposed to be. That's part of the setting. Is I don't know if you caught it, Matt, but right there at the very beginning when they get to town, there's some hints dropped that's like, hey, this is supposed to be our future. I don't know if you caught that or not when you went into it, but it's
maybe.
So Mosk and Merc, who fought on opposite sides of the world with lances of fire, that's Moscow in America with nukes. Len, who flew to the moon in the belly of a fiery eagle, that's John Glenn, and the eagle has landed. Like that sort of stuff.
Oh, I see.
And,
okay.
Legend fades to myth kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. But you see, like, you get introduced a lot of our main characters. The village gets attacked by Trollocs. You don't know exactly why, other than there's this idea, that this whisper that they're sharing is that, oh, the Dragon Reborn might be back. And I do feel like, again, Jordan does a good job with some of the themes there. One of them being that the Dragon Reborn is essentially this like reincarnated messianic figure that is destined of sorts to be to fight the Dark One, which is effectively the analog for Satan, or at least
kind of.
I said kind of. I mean, like your big bad, or I suppose not Satan if you want to put a Judeo-Christian aspect on it, but your Sauron, your Morgoth, whatever.
He's your big evil.
Yeah.
The TV show had already screwed this up, just if you're wondering, Matt.
I've read a little bit about it, and I do want to talk about it. I want to talk about some of the casting of it, just not hating on it, because I mean, I haven't seen an episode of the show. I have not seen one episode, so I can't, in good conscience, I can trash the show being like, this seems
So
hokey or not right, or I wouldn't have
The
done this, but
problem,
I'm
the
not going to be
problem with
like,
their
oh,
casting,
terrible.
the problem I had with the casting was like they could have done the diversity part later, and it kind of ruined things because Edmonds Field is supposed to be kind of this backwater,
it's a
and
very
they have it
quiet,
looking
homogenous area.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so then they have it looking like it's L.A. with like all this diversity in it. It's like, well, you kind of ruined it because part of like the whole thing was you have this very homogenous town, and then you have this tall redhead that's
Looks really weird and out of place.
Well, in
yeah.
the context, yeah, and in the context of the book, which you don't get right away, and I feel 2 books in, I haven't, but they kind of impose that Rand, who, at least is ostensibly an Anglo-Saxon looking guy. He's, Caucasian,
Yeah.
and with red hair. But even the book, he gets side-eyed by the village people. He was grown up there, so they accept him. He's one of them. But he kind of gets side-eyed where it's like, your dad said it's implied like that's his. They presented like that's his real dad. But it's like, oh yeah, he was, away from the village and said he brought back. Well, he doesn't talk about your mom, whatever. Like the
Well,
mom
his
died or
mom,
whatever.
his
But
mom, Carrie Althor came back with Tam Althor to the Two Rivers. Like they
okay,
met Carrie Althor.
And
okay,
yeah, because they're kind of like, hey, you kind of look like those ninja motherfuckers that we
yeah.
all like had a
They
war
imply
with.
like
Like,
you kind of look like this specific, very specific, which you're not introduced yet, but
Yeah.
this very specific ethnic group, and it's like, what's going on with that? And you don't know anything yet.
Yeah.
It's certainly not in book 1, but you're like that. At least is like, and I like the subversion a little bit because it's like, what, this white kid who's just happens. The only thing that's different, he's kind of tall and gangly and redheaded.
He's
But
all,
that
he's
enough.
he's taller than everybody else in the village
yeah, and
by a
you
good
gotta
bit.
figure they're a
But
town
that
that's a
alone
couple.
is like,
Yeah.
what's up with this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It,
because they're
it
a town
makes
of
him
a couple
stand out.
hundred. Yeah, they're a town of a couple hundred people. The nearest other place is like half a day's journey
You
from
can
them.
get
So
you
like,
can get to. I think the story is you can get to either Watch Hill or Devon Ride in a day, but
yeah.
you still
So
got to
that
take the main road and get there and stuff. Anyway,
yeah,
By
yeah.
horse?
70.
yeah.
I mean, by horse, even in a day, you're looking at probably at least like a couple 100 miles away, which,
Well, I think even by the time they got to the first town, I mean, I'm half doing this from memory. I think Moraine was also already keeping the like resting everyone up with their powers.
yeah, they did kind of point at that. But yeah, they escape from the village, like our main characters, who is, Rand, Perrin, Matt, uh, Egwene, Nynaeve, and they're joined by Moraine. And am I pronouncing this correctly? An Aes Sedai?
Eyes Sedai.
Aes Sedai? Okay, who they tell you, Jordan tells you 2 things. One, that they're all women.
Mm-hmm.
One. And 2, they're all women because any male Aes Sedai who are, they're the wizard. They're basically
They're
wizard
the magic
wizard
users, yeah.
disses. Yeah, they're magic users. They're the ones who can use magic. And it's all women because the men who can do it, inevitably it turns them psychopathically crazy, and they
Well,
have to.
they don't, and that's because they. This is another thing the show screws up, but they don't draw the same power. Men and women draw specific things,
Yes,
So
and
there's
because
like a male version of the power and a female
yeah.
version. It's
yeah,
like a
So
yin yang almost type of thing.
it is. Hang on. Well, and that's another one of those myth fates to legend things. I was looking to see if it shows up on what happened. The way that it works is the Wheel of Time. The true source, made by the creator, is Sidin and Sidar, and they
Mm.
push against each other constantly. That's why you get the yin yang thing, but without the dots. So they push each other, which turns the wheel. The wheel weaves the pattern. Everybody's life is a thread in the pattern. So the wheel weaves the pattern as you go. The male half of the source is tainted.
Mhm.
Touching the source opens you up to the Dark One's taint from what happened at the end of the War of Power. And they say, oh, it makes you crazy. It was the Dark One's counterstroke that did it. I'm leaving it there because I went real deep to make sure I understood the metaphysics late in the series. But the female half does not. Like, but there's still a stigma to it. So, okay, I'm sorry. By the way, the distance between Emmonsfield and Watch Hill is estimated to be about 40 miles.
Oh, it's like not a lot, but 40 miles is still
40
like
miles
if
on
I
a
were to get
horse?
40 miles is 40 miles, but 40 miles, like if I got in a car and drove 40 miles, like it would take me a while. Like in a car,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I can do that like an hour or less, but that's still like a long way. If if you were to like, hey, you want to meet up at this party, I'd be like, oh, like how far away is it? 40 miles. I'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah, 40 miles is like a trek. So
Yeah.
anyway, they flee with Moraine, who is there. I forget, Chad. Why was she there? Like
So,
she was there with her warder, who was
yeah.
like her bodyguard, Lan, who
Yeah.
as serious as like I've only read 2 books, but 2 books is all it took to be like Land, awesome.
Lan
And
is awesome.
so the only time, again, we can talk about the show and the casting I've seen, like the cast. I had to look up everyone, but the one casting that I seen for sure that I seen that I'm like I'm intrigued by this is that they cast an Asian. I think he's Asian American.
Yeah.
If he's
Daniel
not
Henney.
Asian American, okay. Like if he's Asian from like Asia, someplace in Asia, I wouldn't want to give him credit for that. But if he's Asian American, but he's an Asian actor,
Yeah. Daniel
and
Henney.
I found that intriguing because I'm like, not to be stereotypical about this guy being like some sort of martial arts badass. And he's not presented like a martial arts badass, but he's presented as like an absolute warrior badass. And it's like that kind of fits with me. Like maybe I want Land to be like a ninja warrior type of dude, just like cutting people down or Trollocs down. But yeah, he's awesome. He's like your bodyguard. Why were they again there? Other than
So,
like they're on the start. I mean, realistically, we know that Moraine is kind of looking for the
yeah.
Dragon Reborn.
That whole thing is laid out in the prequel book, which is New Spring. But
Mm,
what happens is the excuse. There's two
mhm,
excuses at play. Number one, the folks that don't recognize that Moraine's an Aes Sedai, because Aes
mhm.
Sedai have an ageless face. You look at them and you can't tell how old they are. One moment they look very young, one moment they look very old. It's a very smooth face kind of thing.
Let me
The
pause
initial
you.
reason, go ahead.
Isn't it isn't it kind of established that like the power itself, the magic, like actually does extend their life
It
beyond just like
does.
they look younger?
It does, but there's something else at play that
Okay.
I'm not saying
Because I'm
right now.
thinking now since we brought it up, like an understated part of the Dresden Files
Mm-hmm.
is that wizards such as Harry have abnormally long
Yeah.
lives. So Harry, it's like Harry in theory. I mean, he lives a very dangerous life, but
Yeah.
if he could just live a normal life, Harry could be alive centuries in
Yeah.
the future because wizards just live an exceedingly long life. But I
Harry could
digress.
live
Like,
300 or 400 years if he doesn't get
yeah,
himself killed. Aes
yeah,
Sedai, because channelers in the book, it's not
mm,
magic; it's channeling. Why? You reach out, you touch the true source, you channel the one power. You are channeling the power of creation through you. So the idea, I guess, is that what it does is that it's good for your body to have the power of creation course through it. The
mhm,
original reason is Moraine is out because she's like, you don't hear good stories. Like all of these stories that people tell that never make it to the cities get lost if someone doesn't come and collect them. The other reason because if you know what an Aes Sedai looks like, then you know what an Aes Sedai looks like. The first reason is for people who don't know what an Aes Sedai looks like. The other reason is she's like, look, the only way that we find new girls to come train at the White Tower is if we have to go look for them. And so it's like, hey, we're just seeing if there's anybody around that can channel.
it's a noted thing in the book. I think it becomes, they say it a little more later, but like they're getting weaker as time goes on. Like they're
getting weaker and fewer.
Yes.
because like Egwene does a couple things that are very rare, and I think even Moraine's like healing abilities are like above and beyond what like a standard
Yeah. You can
Yeah,
have
one can
a
do.
talent as an Aes Sedai, something you're especially good at, but their strengths vary. You could be channeling the power is 5 powers: earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. And you can be good with one of them, like beyond the pale, so you can do things other people can't, or your talent might be something else. Or there's something you just it's one of the powers you just kind of happen to be better at, and so with Moraine, the healing kind of lines up with that.
Yeah, they're kind of like a corporation that's suffering because they've had a lot of turnover, or a lot of like the people that really knew what they were doing have like retired or left over the years, so they've suffered greatly from like knowledge erosion. Like they'll talk a lot about how they have all these like Angriel and Tar Angriel, and they don't know what they do just
Tyr on
because.
Grail.
Yeah,
It was lost in the apocalypse. I'm sorry, Matt. Please
yeah.
continue.
Well, that what was I going to say? Well, again, I've only read the first 2 books. They
Right.
do, Brad, kind of touch upon that a little bit, because by the end of the second book, I'll skip ahead a little bit. Is that Egwene and Nynaeve have started like their journey enjoying. I'm going to say them how I say
You're
them, Jack.
killing me, dude. I'm dying here.
I don't care. I'm gonna butcher the names of a lot of other factions and characters and things, but uh, they started their journey joining the White Tower. But they do kind of mention at least that they have some talents, like Nynaeve, whatever her name, Nynaeve, whatever
Nynaeve.
her, Nynaeve,
Nynaeve.
Nynaeve.
Yes.
None of those syllables don't like actually line up like they should be.
There is
I say
a glossary in the back of the book that has the
I say
pronunciation guide.
Nynaeve. You're like, it's Nynaeve. Or
Nynaeve.
Nynaeve. I think it should be Nynaeve. Like completely wrong consonants and syllables and all. I don't know. Anyway, it's implied like she's really good at healing and was even back before she started this, because she was the wisdom
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
which
but
is
she's all,
kind of like she's the wise woman /
Yeah.
but I think contextually, in at least by the first book, they're all, and that's kind of the last two, they're all supposed to be like ridiculously young, right? I think they're supposed to be like teenagers. And
she's
yeah,
like
Nynaeve is like
20,
she's the
21
oldest
maybe.
of them, but
Yeah.
yeah, she's like supposed
Yeah.
to be like early 20s at best.
Yeah, accurate.
But she's also she's got a lot of potential, but she's also all kind of screwed up because she's is it a wilder shad is what they call
Wilder
it?
is the term for somebody who learns to channel before they're taught. And so
Yeah.
Wilders have a block. They have to do something particular to be able to channel. Like there's
Yeah,
a
so
bunch of
she's
examples.
so
Is hers that she
she's
has to get angry?
yes.
Okay.
Which-
I was taking a wild guess because
Yeah.
she's always angry.
Oh, she's pissed off all the time. And
But I like, you know what? I like her character though. Like, I've only read 2 books, so I know there's way more character development. And
She's-
in the first 2
I
books,
like
they don't even
her-
establish this whole Wilder thing. That's not even a concept that
Yeah.
comes up.
There's a lot of like in the first book I noticed on like reading it as an adult. 'Cause the first time I read the first book I was 17 or 18 maybe.
Hmm.
And as an adult, I
was
reread it I think when
12.
I think I was 40 when I reread it again. And I noticed in the first book it kind of goes away over time, but there's a lot of stuff in the first book with her that's very performative because that's what's expected of her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so she does get mad a lot of times, but like she's very harsh at times because she's like playing her role, and it's expected for her to act that way.
Well, and
yeah.
it's also kind of presented, at least in like the first book, she's genuinely friends with the other main characters. But it's kind of, I think it's even explicitly mentioned that she, like, you know, when they were younger, like she babysit them.
Yeah.
Like she was,
Yeah.
and it's clearly like the example of, again, she's like her early 20s, but you know what, you're the older girl. Like if you are shave some years away, like if you have like a group of friends who are like 12, and their babysitter's like, 18, 19, something like that. It's like that not that much older. But in maturity and knowing the ways of the world, even like a 12-year-old and 18-year-old, big difference.
Yeah.
But it
Well,
kind of like that where
she also they say this in the first book, I'm pretty sure, so I'm not spoiling anything, but she also heals Egwene from like a very severe illness. I think when Egwene was like
yes,
When she was a baby.
12. Oh, baby. Okay, I
Yeah.
thought she was like a.
And they haven't explored it necessarily, and I don't know if the later books they do, but you kind of get the impression that there is a lot of pressure on her because she's like the youngest wisdom, like
There is.
maybe they've ever had. So it's almost performative is an interesting word to use. It kind of is almost that way, where it's like she's a little gruffer and a little more serious than she needs to be, but it's like she knows, like, well, this is my role in my station. I have to be this way.
It's the only
And-
way she can get people to listen to her.
Yeah, and she doesn't
There's a
quite. It's
specific-
like
There's a specific scene in the first book. I think when she catches up to them, she does something, and I think you'd have to read it a second time to catch it. Maybe Shad knows what I'm talking about, but there's a specific point where she first catches up with them after they leave, and you can see her turn that switch on, and she goes into her like character more hardcore,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I realized like it's very performative. But I don't remember that exact scene. Like it's been a couple years since I read it last time, but there's a specific scene where you see her do it.
something that's a little more subtle that I guess, in thinking about it, he could have explored more. Maybe he does in later books, but I kind of feel like he probably won't because they're going to get older and things start speeding up. But there's a little bit of the characters are young, at least in the first book, but it's like she's going through a lot. Her entire world gets turned upside down too.
Mm-hmm.
But she, again, like in canon, she's supposed to be maybe like early 20s. So she's a young woman, and all of a sudden, she's
like 21, maybe. I think
she's early
at the
20. Hell with it. Let me look
at the absolute youngest. At the absolute youngest, she's 19 or 20, but I think she's like 21.
Yeah, it's implied that she's not. It's not like a 30-year-old. Like
I think she's 22.
Young. That's still relatively young.
Because I mean, but like where they're at too. Because like I think Rand is like 16 or 17. No, is Perrin the oldest of the boys?
They are all right. They're all born within 2 weeks of each other. Rand, Matt, and Perrin are that close.
They're like 16 or 17 when it starts out.
Okay, so she became the wisdom at 19. And the boys are all about 18 whenever this goes down, which means that Egwene is about 16.
Yeah.
And Nynaeve is 4 years older than them, so she's 22.
I won't go into details because I think it's from book 4, but you'll get to a point, Matt, where you learn more about like how the women's circle and like the men, like how they interact politically with each other.
Yeah.
And you get some hints of it in this book, but it's very funny, and I think it's very fitting. But it's a very interesting way that they handle each other.
Yeah. So.
Oh,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. Go.
I was just gonna say, like, so Trollocs attack. Our heroes flee. Their Moraine goes with them. Lan, her bodyguard, Lan.
Also, and his dad has a hair unmarked blade because he was a very accomplished fighter, obviously.
Yes.
And he tears a bunch of the. That's actually a cool scene I didn't remember when I went back to read. Where like Rand's kind of like running away, and he's just watching his dad like run around the farmhouse like hacking up these Trollocs.
Yeah. And
as dust is setting.
Yeah, and I assume that we'll see more of the dad, but that is a situation where like the dad is like, because he one thing that Rand repeats a lot, especially in book 2, is like, I'm just a goat farmer, and it's like his dad was just a farmer, but a sheep herder, but you clearly get the impression like, oh, the dad's way more than that. He is this badass too.
He was a retired badass, yeah.
Yeah, like
I know what he was, but it was
it's like you grew up on a farm, you and your dad just playing corn.
Have you
And
gotten
then
to the
bad guys
scene
show up one
where?
day, and your dad like busts out the machine guns, and you find out, oh, he used to be like special forces, like
Yeah.
back in the day.
Have
So
You know,
you
he
gotten
put
to the
down his
scene?
guns, and picked up the plow. Like,
Have you gotten to the scene where Matt fights the princes?
book 3.
no.
Okay,
Book 3.
okay, okay. Get that.
Just
Okay.
here's I'll tell you this much about it. Tam has a heron mark blade because Tam is a blade master. There's 2 ways to become a blade master. Number 1, you kill another blade master in single combat. That proves that you're good enough to if you're good enough to kill a blade master in single combat, you're a blade master. The other is it's either 3 or 5 blade masters have to sit and observe you work the sword and all agree, yes, you're good enough to be a blade master, which is the harder way. Tam did it the harder way. That's how good Tam Althor is. They don't ever come right out and say that exactly, which is why I'm just going to go ahead and say that now. But it gives you a frame of reference for
Yeah.
for Tam.
They do a good
So they-
job of setting kind of up. You get a good idea of him from the first book without them saying a lot, just from like
Mhm.
the bit of the prologue, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. They flee though. They also are joined by a gleeman, which I would was a gleeman kind of just like a entertainer.
Traveling bard.
Was his
yeah.
traveling bard? Tom Marilyn, who like it just in 2 books. I'm like, oh my god, Tom's awesome. Tom is a fun. He starts off just like a fun, like interesting character, but then you slowly see like, oh, and maybe this is like a trope or just a character type that Jordan likes to write and it's good at. Like there are a lot of guys that they may be somewhat unassuming at first, but then they quickly reveal themselves to be like, oh, this guy's actually awesome. Like Tom Maryland's one of them. You see, like he's way more than he appears. He's actually another badass that it's like, oh, there's a fight. Oh my god, Trollocs, giant animalistic abominations. Guess I'll whip out my knives and start cutting them like down left and right.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck?
I actually
The bard? It's like, yeah.
when I DM'd the game, someone wanted to be a bard, but they were like, "Well, I want something that's more of an attack." So we kind of he hadn't read Wheel of Time, but I modeled him after Tam, so I gave him like a little D6 roll where he could do like the knives out of his sleeves.
Yeah.
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 Then the book basically turns into a kind of long, protracted, like chase sequence.
Well, I liked the scene. I'd forgotten the scene, but it was really cool, and he described it well. Where they're at the gate with the white cloaks, and Moraine makes herself like gigantic. Was really cool.
Early on at the beginning of the flight, the being chased was really cool because you see them pursued by Trollocs, and it also kind of touches upon other different types of shadow spawn. You have like the Fades, who are
Isn't
like
there a winged thing pursuing
the
them
Uber
too?
mooks.
Yeah.
It's
So
the vampire things. I don't know
the
what they're called again.
Drakkar.
Drakkar,
Yeah, that's right.
who are basically like not dragon, vampires, like flying vampires that will eat your soul.
Yes.
Which I think I was reading up on them. It's like it's in universe. It's not even. I think in terms of Shadow Spawn, it's not even established that they're sentient or sapient creatures, but it's kind of like but they will kill you and
Oh yeah, they'll
eat
kill
your
you
soul.
dead as hell.
Yeah.
Fades, Halfmen, Murdral. There's a bunch of names for Eyeless. Like there's a bunch of names for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy that wrote what's his name? The guy that wrote the dragon books, like the Brissinger and what are they called? Eldest. What was the first one called? He was like a teenager when he wrote them, but he ripped
Aragorn?
off that.
Aragorn.
Yeah. He ripped off the half and then like completely for that. Like down to like everything was just a total rip off.
Oh wow. They start getting pursued. They eventually go to the abandoned city of Shadar Logoth.
Shadar Logoth.
Shadow Logoth. And this is where, at this point, they stop there. Matt picks up a dagger. He becomes obviously like cursed by it. At this point, everything I'm reading, like I'm enjoying it, but it came off. I'll use the word derivative. I don't mean it like in a negative way, but it comes off where it's like I see a lot of like Tolkien or other fantasy author influences because it seemed very like that. It's like, oh, they're on the run. Oh, now they're doing like this weird like side quest, but that's going to obviously have something important going on because one of the characters gets cursed.
Yeah.
So you can see that, but
I feel
also
I feel like that's where it kind of started to deviate from feeling like that though when they did Shadar Logoth.
So
When I read it the first time, I was like, oh, okay, this is because for me personally, have either of you read like The Sword of Truth?
No.
By Terry Brooks. Okay, so Sword of Truth came out in like the 70s, and it's pretty much just whole cloth, like a retelling of Lord of the Rings with some differences. And that was kind of like a popular thing to do leading up to this book. So this is kind of like where I think that's where it kind of said, no, this is not Lord of the Rings. We're going in a different direction.
Making it very Tolkien-esque early on was an intentional decision. If you want the line from an interview, Jordan said, "Oh, it's very Tolkien-esque right until the door gets kicked in and things start changing." Like that was all very intentional because he knew this was going to be epic fantasy. And if it's going to be epic fantasy, he has to get epic fantasy fans along for the ride. And so if he makes it Tolkien-esque to start, they're like, "Oh, okay, it's like that." And then whenever he starts changing things, they're already bought in.
And thinking about it in like a more general sense, I don't know how else you start this story either without kind of doing the Tolkien-esque thing, because I don't know how you get those characters together in like an interesting way without them being found out, because they do kind of have to be from bumfuck nowhere and need to be sought out. So like I think I could see why someone would complain about that, but thinking about it like functionally, I'm like, I don't know how you change it either.
So let me go ahead and throw one other thing in there that is show screwed this up too. The reason the three boys are so important. They were all born so close to each other and that sort of stuff because they're all about the right age. That's important, and you understand why in New Spring. And there's a bunch of early installment weirdness in this because Jordan didn't have the magic system all figured out.
Yeah, there is some early installment weirdness in this.
But
can we talk about what the show really botched after this?
Let me get this out. The three boys are important because whenever the wheel weaves the pattern, sometimes it needs to correct things. And when it needs to correct things, then there are certain threads in the pattern that are called Taviran, where certain things, the wheel weaves the pattern around the Taviran in order to make the pattern go where it needs to go. Rand, Matt, and Perrin are all three Taviran. Like, that is an intentional, which cracks me up because Jordan wrote into his book series a reason for them to have plot armor. Because they are literally picked by fate.
And the other characters in the books frequently mention this. Like, things will happen, like major things will happen.
And they'll go, oh,
and
God,
some characters, or even like our main characters, are like, why is this happening to me? And you'll get like Moraine or the character's like, well, you're Taviran. And it's like,
Wait, I mean,
at least poor Rand is like, I don't want to be. No, like someone else. This guy.
There is straight up one of the Aes Sedai talents is that you can see Taviran. You can straight up see if someone is Taviran. This is not just like that must be what it like. It is a real, straight up, honest to God, known thing in the setting.
And some of the characters, like, has Tom come back yet, Matt?
Yes, in book 2. We'll get to that.
So, some characters like Tom pay a horrible, horrible price for being
close to them,
mixed up. Yeah. But so I want to talk real quick before we get too far out of it, Edmonds Field. So they, I would say the biggest fuck up of the series, and I think even didn't Brandon Sanderson tell them do not do this
Are you talking
because
about?
it was
Um,
giving Parrot a wife and then killing her
yes, Sanderson straight up said, "Don't do that."
because it ages him terribly, and I don't know, it was I don't know why they did that. That was so
In the
stupid.
show, the characters are all supposed to be a little bit older. All right, fine, sure, whatever. As far as complaints go, I don't really care. I mean, that's small potatoes. Giving Perrin a wife to kill her in episode 1 is straight up an example of fridging, where you take someone close to one of the characters and then kill them to make a point. And that's the only reason the character is there. That is straight up fridging that character.
And I think why it's dumb too is like them leaving their homes is enough.
Yeah, you don't. There was no good reason to do it, and Sanderson even said, "Don't do this." Or if you have to do it, make it the blacksmith that Perrin is apprenticed to. Don't make it. Don't give him a wife and then just kill her because that's hack.
And it um it reduces the impact of some things that happen later.
Yeah. So it's and the show also says there are 5 Taviran instead of 3. I know it was a fan theory that Nynaeve and Egwene were also Taviran, but they're not. We know they're not because there are people who can physically see Taviran. The Amerlin seat, I think, has the talent to see Taviran, sees it on Rand, and later on she's spending time with Egwene and Nynaeve and doesn't see them on it. We know for a fact they're not, but they're so closely tied to them that the pattern has to weave stuff around them. But in the showrunner is a big Egwene fanboy, so it's like there's 5 Taviran, not 3, and I'm like, you're a hack.
Well, that should if your favorite character is Egwene, you should be disqualified from anything regarding. But like it's obvious though that showrunner would totally just make her the Dragon Reborn.
What were you gonna say, Matt?
I'd say, don't you mean the Aemlyn seat?
Amerlin.
Aemlyn. Again.
Amerlin.
My head canon.
Amerlin. 100%.
Have you met her?
You're putting
yet,
an R in there. I don't think there's an R in it.
Yes, there is.
Have you met her yet, Matt?
A-M.
I thought it was
Y-R. Y-R-L-I-N. Amerlin.
Have you met her yet, Matt?
She's in book 2.
Wait, who?
Okay.
Swan Sanche is in book 2.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. She's like pretty heavily. She's a pretty notable character in book 2.
I apologize, but book 2 and book 3 like really have always like really for some reason those 2 books like meld together in my brain as one book, and I have trouble telling them apart.
This is one of those cases where I can go, I got it all right here. Anyway,
I think why that is because book 2 and 3 like really the story really flows really well from one to the other, so they kind of are like a singular book in a lot of ways. So I think that's why I screw them up so much.
So Matt, we just left Shadar Logoth.
Yeah. So and then they're running again. They're still running from the Trollocs. Then you get everyone split up into 3 teams essentially, or 3 groups. So you have Rand and Matt as one with Tom. But Tom, they get into a fight with Trollocs. It's implied, or it seems that Tom sacrifices himself to let Rand, to a fate.
And they come across one of my favorite characters.
Ooh, who was that?
The Sea Captain is one of my favorite characters.
Oh yeah, so he was pretty cool, and he shows up again as an integral part in at the end of book 2.
Yeah,
I have no idea if he's in the series beyond that. Oh, because I liked him. I don't like making comparisons, so I'm not trying to do this. But you work with like your frame of reference. So he seemed to me a little bit like the Onion Knight in Game of Thrones, if you know who I'm talking about. Davros. Like,
Yeah.
he's a good character. Like, he is one of the better characters in Game of Thrones. So, and one of the few like decent, honest characters. He's stuck a little like that. He's like gruff, but you could clearly see he actually has like he seems like he's good-hearted, and it makes sense because in book 2 he does help out some of the main characters. But yeah, they escape on a ship, Rand and Matt, for that. You kind of see some of how Matt is like something off with Matt, like something's wrong. But then you also have
No,
Aaron.
Rand. No, the boat's kind of where. Isn't that where Rand's kind of like acting like a fucking weirdo in the crow's nest?
I don't remember that part. I know
Isn't
that.
isn't he laughing like a weirdo in the on the mast or something?
I don't remember that part. I know later on where after Tom leaves that particular storyline, Rand gets sick and Matt takes care of him. Like Matt has not like there's some oddness happening, but Matt has not gone like around the bend cuckoo pants or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is actually two of my favorite side characters are in this like when they first break up.
Who's the other one?
Oh, who's the other one?
The wolf guy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Elias Machera.
Yeah.
Elias, yeah. So, well, that's the other group is Perrin and Egwene, and I'm gonna say it how I say it. I actually really liked these chapters because I really like Perrin. Like Perrin, I thought was very well written. You see that he's actually almost like let's say soft spoken, but like a. So my wife and I, like she's listened to some podcasts about like child development and stuff like that. Perrin almost seems like what some of us would see. He's a deep feeling. Like there's a term for deep feeling kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like he seems like he's a deep feeling guy. Like he has a lot of deep thoughts and a lot of like concerns about and he seems like good natured. It's like he's just like the big lovable like guy. It's like I love all my friends. Like, how can I protect them?
He'd be to quote one of the great intellectuals of our time, Ogre, nerd.
Yeah. But he's a good guy. But then you see some interesting stuff where you see that he's a wolf brother, which again they haven't. I assume they will define it even further, but so far it seems like he can somehow telepathically talk to and have a connection with wolves.
Yep.
No, he's kind of a wolf.
It's Matt. You're on the right track.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this basically Jordan's kind of weird version of a werewolf.
Yeah.
Not I'm turning into a wolf man, but
it makes
he would be like
it makes more sense on that front later too.
He'd be like a traditional like medieval European like legend version of a lycanthrope.
He runs with wolves as opposed to like shapeshifts into a wolfman kind of stuff.
Yeah. I did like these also too because it introduces you to like some wolves as like side characters, and it's fun because you get to see the wolves presented, and obviously they're animals, but I like how Jordan presented them kind of as I'll say sort of near human intelligence. They can kind of they have their own thoughts and feelings, and it's not as advanced perhaps as human, but they're characters. Like they actually have personalities and such, and I found that interesting.
They stay pretty.
That stays pretty consistent.
The same couple. Yeah, he keeps the same couple of them around. I think
one.
Yeah.
And you are introduced briefly to Elias's side character, who is another wolf brother. And I assume that we will get more of him, and that there's more to that character. I did like that. You get introduced to characters, and they were interesting. And then they lead the story, but you do get the implication that it's like this character may pop up again. And
any side character you meet, unless like they're implicitly like an innkeeper, and even then it might not be true. But any side character you meet, you will probably have a good shot at seeing again
If
Yeah.
at some point.
if there's any detail invested in them, unless you see them die on the page, you're probably going to see something from them again. Like
Yeah.
Jordan got very wordy, but he did not waste characters like that.
Mm.
And even ones you might be surprised to see pop up again will pop up. Like even ones he doesn't invest a ton in, you might see pop up again. Be like, oh, I remember that name.
Yeah.
Perrin and Egwene, whatever her name is, E. They run afoul of the White Cloaks, who seems like what? Like they're kind of like the Knights Templar in a way.
Kind of Knights Templar Inquisition sort of thing.
Yeah, they don't seem like pleasant people, but and then
They're
the other,
it depends. They're not all
They're not
terrible.
all assholes, but it's an organization that draws a lot of assholes.
yeah,
And they're not. And the other thing you have to remember too is they're not necessarily wrong. Like,
But they're assholes about not being wrong.
yeah,
yeah.
they're like it's like I said, I didn't say like, oh, they're a terrible,
Yeah.
worst group. I was like, they're just unpleasant. They're not pleasant people, mostly.
Even the one you get to know the most is an interesting character because he's not all bad. Like he even like this is later, but like if they're doing something, he'll tell his men like, okay, do this, and he's like, do not be violent because I will fucking kill you if you're violent to people.
He says there is no need for any of that here. Anyway, go on ahead.
And then the third group is Moraine, Lan, and Nynaeve, and they. So you see more of this in book 2, but
Big Shad just had a stroke.
No. I had a great sigh of relief.
You don't get the impression that Lan and Nynaeve kind of like had this connection, but you do.
You wouldn't be wrong.
You do get that in
I would call it overt sexual tension almost immediately between the two of them.
What happened? Yeah, and one of the things that happens around Taviran a lot is like weddings happening out of nowhere, and so to have people like forming a relationship who are hanging out around one of the three Taviran, that's not that's kind of expected, even if So you're correct, Matt. I'm trying to get to that point to say
Lan is one of my favorite characters in the whole book.
Lan's really cool.
Again, I'm only 2 books in, and I think Lan is awesome.
Because
he has less of a role in book 2 than book 1.
Lan continues to be awesome and important.
And he's kind of an old mother hen too, which is also hilarious. But did you get to, just as a random question I remember, is book 2 where he and Rand are doing like the sparring at the beginning?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that's my favorite thing that like really describes the character, where something, I don't remember what happens, but Lan tells a joke and starts laughing at himself, and Rand's kind of like, I think this is more disturbing than anything else he's ever done.
Yeah. It's one of those like, oh no, like you're laughing. That's really bad. Something's wrong. Something's really wrong. You're scarier.
It's like when I think in like really old Spider-Man comics, and J. Jonah Jameson would smile, and Peter Parker was like, this is like an eel smiling.
That's not good. Yeah, that's not good. So eventually, all the characters come to, am I pronouncing this right, Shan? Caemlyn?
Caemlyn, yes.
Caemlyn.
Good job.
Which is kind of, now, there isn't like, this isn't like one kingdom necessarily, but it's kind of like the kingdom, right?
It is one of the major nations.
Yeah, so there is but that's also what's interesting too, because it's like, if you look at even like the map of the area, it's like, would you even call this like nations? I guess. But, and how big geographically is it supposed to be? Like, it's not as big as like North America. Is it supposed to be as big as Europe? Like, I don't.
Westlands, the area that we're in right now in the book, the Westlands, it's never called that in the book, but that's what Jordan called it, is supposed to be about the size of the continental U.S.
it doesn't look like it should be.
It's
And I feel
what
like
it's supposed
characters
to be.
hop around enough that it's like if we're talking like
They start.
you're still going by boat and or horse, like it should take you weeks,
But
months to travel from like one end to the other end if it's supposed
but
to be as big as the continental United
but
States. If it's Europe, that's a little more condensed.
but realize though, even through the first two books, any super long distance they've done, they've cheated, even
They
where
go by
you're at.
the way gates or whatever,
And the
portal stones.
Mhm.
yeah, so
Yeah.
they've cheated. Anytime they have to go long distances, they usually cheat, and
All
you've
right.
seen them
Well,
often.
again, I'm two
Yeah,
books in. I don't know if I like the whole concept of it being as big as the United States. If it's like, if you're going to be like as big as half the United States or something like that, or a quarter, then it's
Let
like,
me look
okay.
it
Like,
up.
because if you take the United States, people forget the United States is huge, like huge, legitimately
I
huge.
I don't think
So
I think
if it
though
was literally a quarter the size, that's be like as big as Europe.
I don't think they ever make big sweep like in future books unless they use like portal stones or the way gates. I don't think they ever make huge like sweeping like they don't travel like huge gigantic distances in a single book. Like I think they tend he tends to be pretty disciplined. Like they might go from like to the next like country over or something, but it's not like they do like it'd be like maybe in a book they go from like Ohio to Kentucky,
Hmm.
but I don't think they do like huge like sweeping things unless they use the what their other tools.
Hmm. Uh. Anyway, they make
Because
it to Camelin.
they tend to stay because I think even in like the next couple books, I don't even think they move around like a ton, like Rand.
Book
I
three.
don't think.
Yeah, he does, but I'm gonna sit on that.
Anyway, they make it to
Yes.
Camelin. Rand meets up with, and again, Ogier?
Yes.
Ogier,
Yes, you're correct.
Ogier, and is it
Loyal.
loyal.
Loyal?
Yes.
Oh, that's how you pronounce it.
Yes.
Loyal. And are Ogiers like the equivalent of like an ogre or a troll?
No, they're
Ogier
more like
are kind of their own thing, and it's
Okay. It how they are described though, they are not a human race. They're like kind of a near human race. They're
they're
bigger
probably
than
more like
humans.
they're
They
probably more
seem
like
a little
Wookiees.
they seem more animalistic of sorts, and people who are not familiar with them, it's describing the book. I'm not, but they get a start where they almost think that they are Trollocs, and because of their animalistic,
it's because
and
of their size. It's because how big they
they're
are.
Yeah,
yes, they're very big. I will say this: I do like. Again, I haven't seen the show. I've only seen like stills or clips, maybe like. But the show that one thing I like about the show, which I also feel like I don't know if it's exactly accurate to the books, because in the show the Trollocs look to be like
7 feet tall.
7 feet, 8 feet, 8 feet tall monstrosities.
Yeah.
Where I don't know if they're that big in the books.
Yes. Yes, they are.
They are.
Yes, they are.
Okay. Yeah, the books also make it seem like they, and I've seen pictures people have drawn, so maybe I'm basing this on that. But they're clearly like beast men in the show. Maybe it's fan art that I've seen of people drawing Trollocs like online.
Mm-hmm.
They do make them seem, which is it's somewhat more interesting concept to me. Some of them they look almost somewhat human.
Yeah.
Where it's just like he may have like bestial, but more like a human face. But I got like big ass, ram horns sticking out of my head,
It could have a
or
human
like
looking.
overall a human head, but just like a wolf snout or an eagle beak or
Yes.
something like that.
yeah, they're not. I don't think they. I don't like. I've always imagined Trollocs don't necessarily even look alike. You just know they're a Trolloc because they're this weird like abomination coming
Yeah.
at you.
Yeah,
First of all,
and
Trollocs can vary in size, and they also vary in what they look like. Like Matt, you described it really well. Could have like human this part of the face, and then this right here is all wolf, except there's like an eagle beak in it, and it could have ram horns too. Like Trollocs, I can't get into why yet, but Trollocs are this jacked up mishmash of stuff that's supposed to be kind of disturbing.
Except for the Fades, who are also actually Trollocs,
Yes.
but like 1/10 of them or some small number
Yeah.
turn out to be Fades, which look human but have no eyes and just kind of present this aura of just complete dread and evil.
And
Um,
I think it's 1 out of 100.
yeah, it's a
supposed
small
to,
number.
It's supposed to present at the same rate that that channelers are supposed to show up in the population.
Yeah, and the thing that I actually thought was cool, like I like it when authors or content creators of like speculative fiction do this, because sometimes less is more. Sometimes it's better to have your imagination run wild. It's more interesting and fun. I like how Jordan basically makes it seem that the creator of the Shadow Spawn, who is it, Agenor, like one of the
Agenor,
Agenor,
yeah.
that it's like it's basically stated that it's like he doesn't know why the Fades like were created. It's like the Fades just happened.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know why. And it's like, that's actually creepier and more disturbing that you create this entire race of like half human, half animal beast men, and every 100 of them turns into some other horrific abomination.
Yeah.
That's even worse because it's intelligent and even more evil than the Trollocs, who thankfully are just dumb, but are also presented as like always chaotic evil.
Yeah.
That some of them are like just incredibly smart and just, I don't like to say lawful evil, but like intelligent evil.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is worse. And it's worse for him to be like, I don't know why these exist. It's like, that's worse. You created them. It's like, I don't know.
I was off by a little bit. 5% of Trolloc offspring are murder all. So it
So,
can't answer the why.
5 out
I
of
have
100.
to sit on it.
So
yeah.
Yeah,
I have to sit on it.
well,
I have to sit on it. Okay. Anyway, go ahead, please.
They go to Camlin. They meet Loyal. Loyal's interesting. I like the character. Here, though, is where, and I've enjoyed the chase. That's actually like a lot of the book. It's probably
Yeah, it needs to be said in Ogier years, Loyal is pretty much the same age as Matt, Rand, and Perrin.
Oh yeah, it's presented that he's chronologically older, but the Ogier are a longer lived species, and he almost writes it, again, not to be derivative or compare it to other works, but he almost makes it seem a little bit like they're Ents or Treebeard, in that they have long lives, where he would, again, it changes in later books, but in the first book, early installment weirdness or whatever, it's kind of implied like, oh, like we take a long time to discuss things and decide on things, and making it seem like we could debate for like 3 years on something.
Accurate.
And that's perfectly normal. That's like having like, an hour-long conversation with someone.
Yeah.
Like, so it's implied like they deliberate a lot. They're a long-lived species, whatever. But it is presented like I'm 80 years old, but in Ogier terms, he's like them. He's like, I'm an 18-year-old. Because even it said, I ran away from home.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say he kind of ran away from home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something.
100%.
There's something that happens later with him that's really funny. I think, I don't remember. Is it his mom, Shad?
His mom is one of them.
There's a thing where he gets like they start, he runs into some others and they start doing when are you gonna settle down and marry a nice woman and stuff, and start doing like all that stuff to him, which is funny.
Yeah. That was not his mom.
Was that? I think that was. I think that was in book 2.
It might be.
I thought that might have been in book 3, but
no, that I read that, so that was at least in book 1 or 2. I think it was in book 2 though.
He was in 2.
Yeah, because he even said that it's like, oh, I don't know, like they're gonna like talk to my mom.
Yeah.
they're gonna, and he like,
I don't want them
not
to
married.
tell my mother.
Yeah, but then it's also funny, and Jordan. I mean, it is like a subtle play for laughs, but it is because he basically does meet another young Ogier when they meet these other Ogiers.
Yeah.
And even this whole spiel, it's like, oh, they're gonna tell my mom, like they're gonna be mad that I'm like, okay. He's like, he kind of presents it as like, I'm a young guy, I just want so my wild oats, which is he not being ugly or rude. It's just like more not in the I'm gonna he's gonna be a philanderer. More like I want to see the world.
Yeah.
I want to be an adventurer.
I want to read
And then he
books.
goes, but it's also he meets like a young Ogier woman there, and afterwards he's like, "Oh yeah, she was really pretty."
Yeah.
It's like, this
Yes.
guy.
Yes.
You're
Loyal
like, I
is-
don't want to be. Yeah, I could tie me down. And then it's like, oh, but she was really
It's like,
pretty, guys. And
"Oh,
it's like,
friend,
yeah,
did you see her ears?
yeah,
You-
yeah.
you know
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
she had
You
really
know what I
cute
like
ears.
about-
And
You know what I like about
Brandon,
the
Brandon is a
first-
good friend 'cause he's like, all right, buddy, yeah.
One thing I like about the first book that feeds into the later books is I like that while Matt and Rand are with Tom, he teaches them how to be gleemen. So it comes up
Yeah.
repeatedly because they often use their skills to get out of situations / get a room for the night or get food if they need to.
Yeah.
Like I like how they learned a practical skill that they use repeatedly.
Yeah. Rand learning to play the flute is a long-running, consistent thing. Matt learning how to juggle is a long-running thing that is also kind of a precursor to some other stuff for him. Like it's really good development. And then to give the show credit, because when the show got something right, it got it really right. There's a scene where I think Moraine and Rand met up with them and Loyal's with them, and Loyal starts talking, Rand, and he starts talking, and Moraine and Rand are having this conversation over here, and Loyal's still talking in the background the whole time because he didn't notice that they're having a side conversation. Like, Loyal is a good-natured dude who just he doesn't pay enough attention like he should, but he's a good dude.
I haven't seen the show, obviously, as I've said, but in the
It's
books
not
it
worth
does
your
come off
time,
like,
honestly.
they've canceled the show. Like, how many seasons
yeah.
do they do? 3? 2?
Three.
3? 3? Some of the things I've read about the show,
3.
I don't.
The problem.
I've only read 2 of the
problem-
books. I haven't even read like a 6 of the books. Like, I'm less than that even.
The
And
big
I'm
problem
like,
with the show is
I don't
they
want to.
poison-
I've read 1/7 of the books, and it's like I don't feel like the need to watch the show at all.
The problem with the show is, I think it does a little better as it goes on, but they poison the well so early
Yeah.
that you just can't get
And
over it.
there was some COVID shenanigans that were part of that too. But
Mm.
okay, so they're in Camelin, and I think that's where they all gather back up, isn't it?
They all gather back up. Before that, you do see Rand meeting Elaine, who is like the princess of Camelin.
Oh, I didn't realize
Oh,
she
I
showed
guess the
up in the
kingdom
first
is
book.
Andor. Andor is the kingdom.
Yes.
You also get to meet her brothers, Gawain, who's like is it her twin? Like, or
No, not twins.
they look alike.
They look alike.
Okay,
They're not twins.
They look alike. So, well, clearly they're like full siblings.
Yes.
And then you meet Galad Damodred, who it does clearly imply is like their half sibling.
Yes,
I think they even explicitly say that.
they do.
But he's someone who seems very strict. Because you get this whole thing where Rand like falls into like the palace grounds.
Yeah.
And is supposed to be there, and Elaine kind of takes an immediate liking to him, and Gawain seems like he's kind of like amused by him, but Galad is, it's like you shouldn't be here, and like goes immediately like reports
It's
him.
not that Galad's a dick. It's Galad has such a strong moral code that he adheres to it, and he's not doing it to be mean. He does what he thinks is right.
Yes.
He's obviously a
He has a
character that
medical
we'll see.
condition, Matt.
I assume we'll see more of. He what?
He has a medical condition. He was born with a perpetual stick up his ass that surgery has not been able to remove.
I was about to say he doesn't come off like a dick, but he's what we call a stick in the mud.
Yes,
He's an old,
yes.
he's an old
He
fuddy
is.
duddy. Like
He
he's
is.
not.
He absolutely is.
Yeah.
I forgot they were in the first book, and he meets men along the way too.
Yes, in Barillon, he met men who can see pieces of the pattern sometimes.
Yeah. Rand is brought before the queen. Like they introduced like the Aes Sedai,
Eyes,
Elada,
Elijah.
who Elida,
Oh, Elida's
who again,
such a hag.
oh, I'm sure we'll see more, but she just comes off like this is a bitch with the capital B. She comes again very unpleasant.
Yes,
Um,
you are correct.
and
Yeah.
you see everyone meet up, but uh, at this point, it's like a 600-page book or so. We're now at like page 500, and look, I've enjoyed the book,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm at the point where I'm like, we got like 100 pages left. Like, how are we gonna wrap this up? And then, boom! All of a sudden, it's like, oh, we need to go to the Eye of the World, to save everything because the Dark One's gonna like break out of his prison,
Yeah.
and everything speeds up. Where all of a sudden they go through like I'm not gonna say Deus Ex Machina, but it's like a plot contrivance. It's like, oh, Loyal's like, oh, we have this like thing called Waygate,
Yeah.
which we can travel through to go through long distances really quickly, and it's like, what? Like, this was never brought up, and it's like it's fast travel, it's video games, it's fast travel.
Yeah. Most people, first of all, the ways were the inspiration for the Nether in Minecraft. Second, nobody uses it because the ways are dangerous as hell.
They do
lost.
touch on that. But it's also it's infected with
Machin Shin.
what is it called?
Black Wind. Yeah.
Black Wind, which is like some evil, kind of implied like an evil.
It's like an evil tornado.
Entity.
It's an evil tornado is kind of how I picture it.
It's almost touching upon like Eldritch Abomination type of thing. It's been infected by some sort of evil force.
Yeah. The other problem is like with it and why it's dangerous is a lot of the gates are broken, but you also have to be able to read what they say, which I think only Ogier can read
it's in
now.
the Ogier language.
Yeah.
So they're the only ones that can navigate it. And I get where you're coming from with this, like, it seems like a plot contrivance, but it is part of the world. It's established, and it comes, it is not something that they use once and it goes away.
No, and it's also goes along with the theme of like anything like that would have been a modern convenience that's gone usually has some horrible monster attached to it.
Yeah.
In some way.
So they go and they come out into where the Eye of the World is, which is in an area that has been completely tainted by the Dark One, which you call the Blight. We kind of are first exposed to this. I think Jordan, again, this is like really abbreviated, but Jordan does a good job just exposing this. And again, not to make the comparison, but it's like, oh, this is Mordor. Like the Blight's kind of like Mordor. It isn't, obviously, and it isn't really like that. But think of it, where it's like a totally like cursed, like horrific, completely tainted by evil. And I do think Jordan did some good stuff in a very short amount of like page space.
Yeah.
About how it is tainted to the point where like they'll look like Rand or whoever look over and like you'll see a tree and they even spend like a page or so. Jordan's spent a page or so explaining this. It's like you have a tree and it's like, oh, it's a tree. And then you look closely and it's like, what the fuck is wrong with that tree? And you see the tree should be an ordinary tree, except it has like pustules growing out of it and it just looks diseased. And it's like you feel like if like the pustule would ever burst, it's gonna spew out poison that will like kill you or poison you or do something. It's all messed up. And there's even a great segment where like they hear like this weird like sound and it's like, what the hell is that? And then Land, who's like cool as a cucumber, is like, we gotta move. And it's like, what's wrong? It's like worms. It's like worms. It's like, no, it's big giant evil worms that run in packs that will devour all of us. And it's like, oh shit.
Kind of like mini sandworms without the sand.
Yeah. Yes.
It's the things from Dune.
Yeah, the sandworms.
Or Beetlejuice.
Yeah. Hang on, let me do the Dune reference properly. Shy Halud.
We should do an episode on. We should do an episode on Dune one day.
We'll get there.
The book or the movies or
the book? We're not animals here. We're gonna do the book.
I have to read the book. I haven't read
movies
the book.
are really the Denis Villeneuve movies are really faithful adaptation.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
Okay.
they get away from the worms.
They get away from the
went
worms.
weird.
They make their way to the Eye of the World. They meet the Green Man, who really, again, it to me was like, oh, this is like an ant.
Yeah.
This is Treebeard. Treebeard.
Yeah.
And this is where I think I messaged you when I read this portion. I was like, what is happening? Because they meet Treebeard, and Moraine's all like, we got to protect the Eye of the World. Like the Dark One is going to escape his prison, and Treebeard is all nice to them because he's like in his own way, not an eldritch abomination, but he's kind of like he's clearly like something from the ancient the
Age of
what's
Legends.
what's the Age of Legends?
Yeah.
Like a relic from that,
Mm-hmm.
and a non-human entity.
Mm-hmm.
And then boom, all of a sudden, it's like two fucking supervillains appear.
Yep.
Which is what, Agenor and
Agenor
who's
and
the other one?
Bathamel.
Bathamel. They show up.
Yep.
And it's like they're fucking supervillain evil. And then with the space of like 2-3 pages, like Balthamel and Treebeard, like the Green Man, fight each other. They both kill each other.
Yep.
Which leaves Agenor, and then it's like, what the fuck is happening? And then Agenor and Rand start battling. Rand all of a sudden, because we get the inclination. We get no. He's a dragon. He starts channeling the one power. He I think it was him. He kills Agenor. Someone kills Agenor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, Baelzamon or Samael, who is like one of like the head. I guess he probably is like the Satan archetype of the series of the Forsaken.
Yeah.
The Dark One is like your Sauron or your big bad, your main evil. But Baelzamon, who has appeared before in the book, I haven't mentioned him, but he is presented as like someone who was an enemy of Lewis Theron, who Rand certainly by book 2 is implied to be the reincarnation of.
Yeah.
Which I guess is a cycle. Like the Dragon Reborn is really just
it is
the reincarnation.
It is a setting of rebirth. Yes.
Yes, like it is the constant reincarnation of Lewis Theron. I don't know if in the book that Lewis Theron is himself a reincarnation, or maybe he was the original.
So
I don't know.
How it works in the Wheel of Time is that once you have a soul, the pattern will spin that soul back out when it needs to. And so Lewis Theron, there are two candidates for who can be the savior of a given age. And if it's Lewis Theron in one, then the dragon then Lewis Theron is the dragon and his reincarnation's the Dragon Reborn. And it is, since it's the wheel of time, it just keeps turning. There's not an end, there's not a beginning or an end to it.
And also, just as a reference point, Beelzebub's only like the top dog because he's the strongest. Like the other Forsaken would knife him in the back in a second if they thought they could win.
Yeah, Balsamon. Yeah,
yeah. But Rand kills Agenor, and then he has like a fight with Baelzamon.
Oh, don't forget, Nynaeve gets totally fucked up, like horribly in this fight.
Oh yeah, like Agenor, I think was like just nerfs her like immediately.
Yeah,
like curb stomps.
Pretty much did like the Randy Orton Legends punt to the head.
Yeah, just she's out of it.
Or the American History X curb stomp.
Yeah, it's a curb stomp.
Yeah.
And then Rand kind of defeats Baelzamon, and kind of is like, oh, we defeated the Dark One. It's like, no, you didn't. No, nothing's really changed. But it kind of ends, and then it's like Moraine like realizes like, oh, Rand is the.
Did they find? What is it? What's the seal made of? Shad. It's a specific word.
Quindiar.
Yeah,
they find that?
They did find some stuff.
They found a seal, one seal, and it was broken.
I think that's like 7 seals.
Yes.
Okay. Rand defeats Baelzamon, but not really. But I mean, But and then there's like a happy ending, I guess, of sorts. Like there's an ending, and then Moraine is like, oh, Rand is the Dragon Reborn. Here's my problem. Did I like the book? I liked it a lot. Did I want to continue reading it? Yes. Did I find it exciting at points? Very. Did I like the world that it was building? Which I know obviously has 13 more books to build on. Yes. My thing though, and I understand again, you guys have said certainly starting with book 3, it gets better. But my main complaint with this, and I told you this at the time, I'm like, what the fuck is up with this dude's pacing? Because it's like 500. It's like a 600-page book. It's like 500 pages of like chase and stuff happening, but not really like something really pressing. Where it's like, oh my god, what's gonna, like a page turn? What's gonna happen next? Any page could be like the main. It's like it goes through like 500 to 600 pages, and it's interesting. It's good. I'm not saying it's not. It's not like I'm bored, but all of a sudden it's 500 to 600 pages happening, and then the last like 100 pages or even less, so like the last 50 pages, it's like goes from 0 to 100, and it's like, what the fuck is happening? Who are these characters?
And,
like all of a sudden, again, Agenor and Balthamel show up, and it's like, who the fuck are these clowns? Like, why don't you introduce them in like page 200?
I tend to think an editor had is at fault for the bad pacing at the end of this.
I mean, reading this like years and years and years, decades even after he started the franchise, let alone like it's been finished. Reading this like many years after the fact, it's like, okay, you clearly had a vision in mind, but if I were like reading this when it first came out, I would have been like, what is this? Like, why? Clearly, though, he had ideas. I don't know if he decided like a 14-book series, but he clearly had ideas. Like, I'm gonna do a multi-book story. So his pacing is like, I can take like 500 pages of the book 1, and then do a bunch of stuff at book 6. 100 pages of like the 600-page novel. To set up book 2.
His
pacing, but like your pacing needed work. It's a great book. I enjoyed it, but I'm like, your pacing could have used
improves
work
as you go. Yes.
Yeah, I think book 2 is a lot better paced. But do you want to really be mad, Matt?
Agreed.
And where the show totally fucked up. So because the showrunner is a buffoon, in the show, Egwene does all of the Rand stuff. Because the showrunner's an asshole and an idiot.
Because he's a fanboy?
Yeah.
Ah, no.
So Rand pretty much is a useless cuck in season 1.
Well, here
stupid.
they are trying to hide a way of like, well, who's the Dragon Reborn gonna be? And it's like, dude, come on, seriously?
Well, I mean, I know it's been a long time since I read it, but I feel like when I read it the first time when I was 17, like, I feel like from the second you meet Rand, it's like, hey guys, this is the Dragon Reborn main character. Hey, red hair.
You know, like, he's important. You know how important. He's one of 3 Ta'veren. And they've been talking about the Dragon Reborn. It's not a far stretch to put 2 and 2 together. But
it's obvious he's channeling too early, because remember when they're escaping and Bella doesn't get tired even though she's like
a short, fat little mare, and she's keeping up with all the other horses.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there, yes, they, and at the end of book 1, Moraine does spell that out.
It was obvious before then, though, I think.
Well, what happens is at the very beginning, Moraine kind of asks some questions that give you a heads up of, hey, this is something that happens to somebody who channels the first time and doesn't know what they're doing. And then that happens to Rand. He doesn't know it. He doesn't know why. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. Now, Matt, do you remember, was there an explanation on where Agenor and Balthamel came from? Do you remember that?
Just that they were. I think it only was like they were Forsaken, and that they were much like the other Forsaken, which they don't even. I don't. They may have listed like a number of them, but that they were imprisoned, much like the Dark One was, but that they were imprisoned kind of close to the surface, like not as well imprisoned.
Yeah.
So that it is also implied that any of them breaking out of their prison implies that the forces holding the Dark One were weakening. So it's not good.
Yes, basically. like the other Forsaken were entrapped more deeply, so the passage of time did not cause their bodies to decay. Like whenever they say Bathamel, like he's wearing a mask and he's wearing clothes that cover everything, and Agenor is like, oh my god, his whole body's falling apart.
Mm.
Bathamel was a spy master, so he's wearing a disguise, like he always did. Like Bathamel was just like, no, nobody's gonna know what I actually look like because I'm cagey as hell. And Agenor's well, all 13 of the Forsaken were the most powerful and god awful followers of the Dark One in the War of Power. And
Yeah.
when the bore was sealed, it was the pattern saying, "Hey, guess what? Y'all are in there." And so it's like they all suck. Okay, obviously all the Forsaken suck. Agenor's to go back to the Revenge of the Nerds thing.
Sucky a lot.
To go back to the Revenge of the Nerds thing, Agenor is such a nerd that it's like what like they say outright he created the Trollocs and therefore the Fades and that sort of stuff. Agenor did a bunch of that sort of thing, but Agenor's also kind of like the absent-minded evil as hell professor sort of thing. So it's Agenor getting murked. It makes sense with that context. I can't tell you more than that because I gotta wait on it. It's like I'm like, oh, I can't info dump. I want to real bad, but I'm not going to. Not just because it's like, hey, I don't want to spoil things for you, Matt. But if anybody's watching and is interested in going into these books, I don't want to throw stuff early that's going to ruin it.
He doesn't.
I will say, like, Balthamel being a spy master or a spy or something, that's not articulated. He just shows up and he's described as having like a mask or something, and it's implied because he's decayed, or there's something like grotesque about him that he's wearing a mask. Not that it's like I'm trying to hide my identity. Like he's grotesque,
Yeah,
and then again, like
it on,
in like in the space of like 2-3 pages, like he and Green Man like go out fight each other, and Green Man just murks him. But in doing so, he like gets killed. But
Yeah.
it is like cool. Like Green Man basically like inflicts him with like death mushrooms, and Balthamel just like literally like rots.
Yeah.
Immediately, but he kills the Green Man.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit sad because it's implied that the Green Man is one of the last relics. I forget, did it? I think it kind of implied like he, to the extent he may have been a race or whatever he was,
Kind of.
that he was like the last of them.
Yeah.
He's kind of presented as like a guardian.
Yeah.
But it's implied that he is the last of whatever he was.
Yeah.
And it's kind of vague as to what he is. Like again, he's kind of like Treebeard, but it's not necessarily presented like that he is like an Ogier as a race.
No.
It's not. He's not quite that, but that there were others like him, but that he maybe hid the last. So it is in the short amount of time you see the character, it is kind of presented like it's sad because whatever he was, like he's gone now.
And I think if I remember correctly, he's got a scar on him too. The Green Man has a scar on him somewhere.
He even discusses that, but he references the scar.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like he doesn't imply how he got the scar or what happened. It kind of does imply that this happened with whatever tragedy happened, that the apocalypse that caused the destruction of the age of the age of legends.
Yeah.
But he implies it's like, oh, it's almost, for lack of a better way to put it, he got a traumatic brain injury.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, I got the scar, and it's like ever since then I can't really remember things like I used to, and it's very tragic. He's almost a tragic character, but he also, to the small extent you see him, he is presented very like friendly to the main characters, like warm, He's presented as a warm character, like not there's no malice there. And when you see him actually commit horrible act of violence, it's against, an evil character. So
Comedy.
So, one of the things that I, after book 4, I can fill in the blanks on the Green Man for you. But until then, I gotta wait. But you're right that you've got his characterization down pretty solid. So, and Matt, like you
mhm.
said, the pacing gets better, and there's a bunch of stuff that is introduced, but is also not. There's a bunch of stuff that is introduced in the first book. There's more stuff that's introduced later. Because, for example, you have not gone through most of the other cultures, the other nations that exist in the Westlands. You haven't gone through, meeting, like, because they've went from the Two Rivers, which is in the back end of nowhere, where they raise sheep and they grow really, really good tobacco. They go to
Mm.
Barrelon, which is a mining town. They head to Camelin, like along the way. Blah 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 blah. They go to Camelin, then they waygate up to go find the Eye of the World. Like yes, they skip some stuff, and so they're going to go through and explore some other things in the second book as they go. But I liked that because that mean you're not getting an exposition dump in the first book of like this is the whole world and all this sort of stuff. Like you find it as it becomes pertinent to the characters. So, um, all right. So we've been having a good time with this, and I think we didn't even get to Great Hunt, which Matt has finished. And
Yes.
honestly, we've been having such a good time that I think we could make another episode out of it. So
Yeah, I
um,
think so.
this was here's the thing: is that yeah, this was a technical difficulties issue. I would have loved to have everybody in live chat, but that's how it goes. So we'll post this one, and then hopefully next week we'll be back to your regularly scheduled programming. Um, Matt, did you have any other parting thoughts you wanted to put for Eye of the World?
No, I talked about it pretty extensively. Again, I enjoyed the book obviously because then I was like, oh, I'm gonna continue forward. I was excited to start reading Great Hunt. I did. My complaint was the pacing, and it wasn't like, oh, I'm not gonna read any more of this. The pacing, like it was. I was just like, this is interesting, and I liked it. Why did you all of a sudden the last like 100 to 50 pages be like now it's action? Like it's like I appreciate that. Maybe I wanted more setup, and it's like now we're gonna have like the main event,
Yeah,
like a Royal Rumble. It's like, whoa, okay, it's cool, but I wasn't prepared for the Royal Rumble just yet. Where it's like you went 0 to 60. Like maybe I need a little more like little setup to that. But
yeah,
I did think, and we could talk about it in another show. But I did think the pacing for Great Hunt was better.
yeah.
Now I'll say that the pacing still he still kind of did the same thing where it's like here's a bunch of stuff happening and then it's like oh boom
Book three's
now it's
better.
like we do a bunch of stuff in the last 150 to 100 pages and it's like okay
So
but
we're
it was better in book 2 so but that's why I like to play it. Great book. I enjoyed the characters. I wanted to read more. I loved the world building. I found it interesting. I found the characters compelling. I want to read more. I've read book 2 obviously. I'm going to continue with book 3 by the end of the year. But
Book three, he
the
figures out the
pacing of
pacing, I
book
think,
one was
pretty
a little
well.
like you could have done this pacing better, but
yeah. Book 4
I
is
t-
my favorite. I'm not saying that it's the best one. I'm just saying it's my favorite. So
he kind of, I feel like books like 8, 9, and 10, he kind of gets a little lost in the weeds, but then he kind of course corrects a little bit for the last book he actually wrote. And
yeah,
then,
if slash when we get to that, I'll give you my opinion on it. But
But like I would say for me the apex of the series is like books 3 through 6. I would say is like where it's kind of hitting on all cylinders.
It's got a dip. Um, Now I have to look because I can't remember which one. Um,
5.
well, no. Because Knife of Dreams is where it swings back up. Yeah, that was 11.
Yeah,
Okay. So,
yeah.
it,
Ten's the
yeah,
famous one.
10 was in the author's own words a failed experiment. So, anyway, then we'll be looking forward to doing another one. Matt, thank you for being willing to
I,
share your trip through this on this one.
I've heard that book 10 is the slog. Like I've read that. I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard people say like it's it's maybe you guys have said like book 3 through 6 are like the best before maybe the end, but that 7, 8, 9 may not
Okay.
be bad. But I've heard people other than you guys say like book 10 is like the slog, but after
So,
that it starts to pick up again, and
okay.
then it seems that book 14, from what I understand, people, and I know Jordan unfortunately passed away, so Sanderson finished it, but I've heard people like are happy with the resolution and everything.
I
It
think
So,
was it was as
I
good a resolution as we were going to get.
I think with the way you're reading it,
but are
Matt,
you
it
happy
won't
with the
be as
resolution? Because that's a different thing. It's like, well, this is as good as anything we're going to get, versus like I'm
I think the
satisfied with
way
it.
you're
I'm happy.
reading it, it
Are you
won't
happy
be
with
as
it?
bad
Yeah.
because what you have to realize when Book 10 originally came out, I think that was the first time he had some. I think Book 10 is about when I think he started having health issues and the book slowed down. So
Hmm.
when Book 10 originally came out, I think that was the only book people had for like a 4 or 5 year period.
So
And before then, they'd been getting like a book a year or a book every other year.
here's I don't consider the slog to be like the original term. The slog is different because 8, 9, 10 things kind of slow down. The world is bigger now. There's more details to fill in. I don't consider the slog to be what it was because here we are and up through book 6 and 7, big punchy blah 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 stuff, and then there's time he's got to catch the world up to everything that's going on, and so folks were like, well, this one wasn't as good as the one before, and this one wasn't as good, and so they considered those the slog because that's when they were coming out. They didn't have all of them, but now sitting here and having all of the books, and I can just slam through them beginning to end, I could be like, eh, it's slower, but it's not the slog, if that makes sense.
And Lord of Chaos is like a 10 out of 10. Like,
Mm.
it's often picked, like, if someone picks a book, Lord of Chaos often makes like top 25 fantasy novels of all time.
Lord of Chaos
So,
is really good. Shadow Rising is really good. Like,
yeah, so you have to think too. Like, let's say you write Lord of Chaos, and it's universally regarded as like a 9.5 or a 10, and then you follow that up with like an 8, and then like a 7.5, and then like an 8.5, and then like a 6.5. Like, people are gonna think that's like a major step down, even though like you're getting above average to good books the
you're
whole
still getting
time.
quality, but you just had this big crescendo back here, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's following up like like something that would be like classic level.
Yeah.
So that's kind of also the problem is like it really does come after like a heavy hitter. Like I said, Lord of Chaos, if you see lists, is usually the book they mentioned from the series.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. All right. So, everybody, just want to go ahead and say thank you for joining us for this episode. Hope you've enjoyed our little. You're enjoying our diversion into getting into a little literary again, and so This is Shad with Matt and Brad. We've been in 3 Corners. You're in the 4th, and we will see you next time.